Hello, I'm Adrian, or Lee6113, and I'm going to go over character creation for the Avatar Legends RPG, which is just fulfilled to us on Kickstarter. So I've got the PDF here, we've got the physical copies just arrived a little bit ago, and I've never played a Powered by the Apocalypse system. I know of it. I have Masks, which is another game that uses it, but I've never played that either. So really, I'm just going based off of these um, playbooks and having read through parts of the RPG book so far. So I want to go over what it takes to make a character because I think I've narrowed it down to how to make it simple. And I'm also going to use Roll20 because that's um, a pretty big help actually to streamline making character. The Avatar Legends books has 5 eras that you can play in. And so the first step to making a character is to figure out for your game which one you're going to play in, whether it's the Kyoshi era, the Roku era, 100-Year War era, or the Aang or Korra eras. They also go into like what is the scope of your campaign or the game that you're going to play. Do you want to have it really large scale or really focused? And they have some tips on that. How focused do you want to be on stuff? I'm not going to spend much time on this. This is more um, just pre-game stuff. But for actually making your character, you're going to choose a playbook, and this is similar to like choosing classes in like D&D 5th edition or something like that. But instead of being like a paladin, cleric, wizard, rogue, whatever, you have these general styles of characters that you might choose. So they recommend having a character concept in mind and then attaching a playbook to them. So they ended up with the Adamant, the Bold, the Guardian, the Hammer, the Icon, the Idealist, the Pillar, the Prodigy, the Rogue, and the Successor. And the Roll20 does not have all those. So I'm going to make an Earthbender named Tai. That's the character I wanted to make today. And they actually don't have all the playbooks that I was wanting to use for him. I think these are just the ones that came with the playtest on Kickstarter. So probably Roll20 will be updated with the rest of them, but for right now, I'm limited to just the Bold, Guardian, Hammer, Icon, Idealist, and Successor. Um, and so the Adamant, which is what I was originally going to play, I can't do, not with Roll20. So I'm going to actually just make him be the Bold, which fights to live up to their self-image and earn others' trust and confidence. Play the Bold if you want to build your reputation and leadership skills. And that's kind of like good enough. These do have some mechanics, because in the Powered by the Apocalypse system, they use moves instead of like spells or attacks and stuff, and so it's very completely different from any sort of D20 system that I've played, which is not a bad thing. It's just different. So what I would do is I select the Bold, and actually let's listen to some Avatar lo-fi while I do this. All right, so I'm gonna go to the PDFs here. I actually have a character sheet which I should be able to open on here. Jump on Discord really quick. That's my wife in the background. She's feeling kind of sick. Hopefully she's better soon. So I found this character sheet online, and I printed some of these out, and I was going to make character sheets for my kids and us. We were going to play Avatar pretty soon, and going over it, I kind of realized how much I didn't know about making characters. So I went back on, got all the PDFs out, and they have these pre-done playbooks, which are a lot easier. And they do have all the ones that you can just print these out, but they aren't form fillable, at least not mine. So I am going to go back to using the Roll20 character sheet here in a moment. But for the not for the Adamant anymore, I'm going to go with the Bold. So the first step that you do when making a character is you have 4 primary stats or attributes. Not attributes, but they call them just stats. So creativity, focus, harmony, and passion. And then those can be a maximum of 3. And so with being a Bold, kind of the general standard array is they'd have a 1 in creativity, a 1 in focus, a 0 in harmony, and a -1 in passion. and you always get to add an extra point to any of these 4. So what I was going to do with Tai, first name, pronouns, playbook, look, you can see that I have made him look very similar to the Rock from Naruto, and that's just an inspiration for the look that I want him to have. Kind of youth, mid-teen, black hair, cut in a bowl cut. And his background is his family was in the military. That's kind of what he was looking forward to doing. Started training in earthbending for that, and through whatever happened, now he's part of this adventure. For his demeanor, he's enthusiastic. He's still kind of got that Sokka-like teen enthusiasm. And for his training, you select which class of bending you want to do. Now in this game, there's no, like I said, no classes like you're a wizard or a paladin or a rogue or whatever. You are going to just select whether you want to be one of the 4 elements: water bending, fire bending, earth bending, or air bending. And then there's also, like, you could take Sokka, or one of the Kyoshi warriors would be weapon specialists. And then you can also take, like, in Korra, I forgot what her name is, but there's a character that could use all sorts of, like, tech. She had the gauntlet with the electricity and stuff like that. So you could choose a tech specialist as another training class if you want. I'm going to be an earthbender, like I mentioned. So by choosing your playbook, the bold, and then being an earthbender, it's going to create a bunch of your moves for you. So I really don't have to go through and write a lot of these down. I do have to choose a couple. So being the bold, I can choose best friend. Here's the plan. Not done yet. You missed something. Or straight shooter. And I'm going to definitely choose here's the plan. And just as an example of how the moves work. If a situation's coming up, like let's say we need to storm a Fire Nation bunker and our party's like outside trying to just talk about it, this is where I could make a roll for here's the plan. So when you commit to a plan you propose to the group, roll a creativity check. And so I would go back up, and my creativity, actually for his character sheet, I wanted to put that extra 1 in creativity. So I would have a +2 on this roll for my creativity. So you'd roll 2d6, and then anything 6 or under is a fail, and between 7 to 9 is like you sort of succeed or you succeed, but there's also failure. It's kind of a gray area. The DM can allocate success or limited success, and then on a 10 or up, it's a full success. So I would roll a creativity check, and in this that would be a 12, which is a solid success. So 2d6, I rolled a 6 and a 4, and then +2 for my creativity stat. So that would give me, where are we? Playbooks. Okay, here's the bold. Here's the plan. So roll with creativity, take a -1 for each of my companions who isn't on board. So let's just say my plan is to rush in, try to knock out the guards right away and bust somebody out, or take the plans, or whatever it is that our goal is. And it's like, that's a dumb plan. We're just trying to go in guns blazing. Let's say 2 people on my team don't want to do it that way. They'd prefer a more stealthy approach or something like that. I would take a penalty on that roll. However, with a 12, even if 2 people were -1 each, I'd still hit success with a 10. So I rolled well for that. So I'm going to take here's the plan, and then I can spend my hold. So on a 10 plus, hold 2, and I'm not sure what that is. You spend your hold 1 for 1 while the plan is being carried out to overcome or evade an obstacle, create an advantage, or neutralize an advantage or a danger. If any of your companions abandon you while the plan is underway, you must mark a condition. On a miss, hold 1, but your plan goes awry when you encounter surprising opposition. So this kind of is an example of how narrative play works for this game. So I might have rolled here's the plan. I might have gotten 2 successes, 10. I got 12. Even with penalties, I would have succeeded. So I would have gotten 2 holds, and then that can be used in the game to create some sort of advantage. And even on a miss, it says that my plan would still work and I'd still get one of those advantage, but then the GM can throw on some sort of um, encounter that or surprising opposition that causes the plan to go awry. So that's how that would work. Now on conditions, if I go back to the character sheet, you've got your stats and then you've got conditions on the right side. So if you have to mark a condition, or maybe a condition is forced on you, I would be able to choose, am I afraid, angry, guilty, insecure, or troubled? And whichever one these are, it gives you some sort of end game debuff. So like if I'm guilty, like I feel like this plan went awry and now it's my fault, it's my plan, then -2 to push my luck and +2 to deny a call out. So those are two other moves that I can take. There's general moves, which we all would have access to, and those are here on the Roll20 sheet, really well listed. So basic moves reference: I can plead, push your luck, rely on your skills and training, assess a situation, your perception roll, intimidate, trick, comfort and support, or help. And then there's other one, balance moves, which is the third portion of your character sheet here. Balance, you're always going to have kind of this yin yang going on with your character. It's very Avatar style. So each playbook gives you what your two opposing ends of the scale is. So for me, it's loyalty and confidence. And so you start off at 0 and you can either go +1 or -1 in one direction or another. If you want, that's an option, which is not mandatory. But if you end up having to shift your balance, maybe I get leaned more towards loyalty instead of maybe at the detriment of my confidence. I'd rather stay, but I don't think it's a good idea. Or maybe I'm no longer thinking of myself as good of a leader for doing something, but I want to stay with my friends. Something like that would happen. Then this ends up giving me penalties to certain roles as well, and then opposition can use that against me too. So you've got your balance and conditions. What else was there? So yeah, so the balance has different moves as well. So living up to your principle, calling someone out, denying a call out, resist shifting your balance, and losing your balance. All of those are moves, so you'd still roll, and then there'd be a penalty based off of where you are on your balance track. And then you also have specific combat moves. So with combat, there's 3 phases of every round. There's the evade and observe. Sorry, no, there's defend and respond. Hold on, I need to check my notes for this. So in combat, the first is defend and maneuver, and then you can advance and attack, and then observe. So every player character says what they're going to be doing first. The GM does that privately for their own NPCs. So if the bad guys are like going with let's just say it's a firebender captain and his soldiers, you might say that the soldiers are going to advance and attack, and then the firebender captain is going to evade and observe. He's going to hang back, but the GM doesn't say that. He just notes it down, he or she. And then the player characters all announce what they're doing, and then for that first round, you just go in order. The defend and response, advance and attack, and evade and observe in that order. And so your moves, if you're defending, you can block, retaliate, retreat. You can specify which move you want to use for yourself, and then it goes to the attacker's turn. And instead of there being hit points, there's fatigue and again conditions. And your fatigue points is kind of like what your hit points are, but in Avatar, people don't really die. You get knocked out or you become exhausted. But yeah, when you mark your fatigue, there's ways you can add and subtract fatigue or force it on other people. You can voluntarily use fatigue to get benefits on your attack, for example, or to force them to shift their balance, which is another way that you can try to make people scale to defeat them. But all these things, I think I'm going to let you watch a different video for, because I'm going to put a couple links to some really good ones. For now, if you're building a character, back to the basics. You make a name, your nation, waterbender, earthbender, fire nation, whatever, and then you select your playbook. I'm choosing the bold. You select your background, description, your demeanor, You select again your training, kind of goes into your nation. Then for your moves, you get to choose two of these specific moves. So I'm going to choose here's the plan, and I'm going to choose probably you missed something or straight shooter. Yeah, I'm just going to choose straight shooter for that one, and then you can kind of build some connections. They recommend really tying your group together by having two connections, maybe a positive and negative with one person or another on the team, and then that's pretty much it for growth. For leveling up at the end of each session, um, you go through the advancement questions, but to start playing and to show up to a table, all you really need to do is list out these different things. A lot of it's just describing your character, your background and demeanor, and then selecting a couple specific moves, and then kind of wrapping your head around how does fatigue and balance work. And the conditions are pretty easy to understand. And the best thing I can do really from here is just linking those other videos. If you just go to YouTube, and let me drop this down real quick. What am I doing? If I do Avatar Legends, character creation. Chris Fire has a really good one, and who is the other guy? I think it is this number 2. Yep, Bell of Lost Souls. So Chris Fire and Bell of Lost Souls both have really good intros to this RPG. And actually, the third result under here is the High Rulers one shot, which is the first exposure I got to this show, and it was really fun to watch. So, if you have any further questions on how the system runs, I'll just forward you to those. And that's it for me. So, have a good night.